Hi students, welcome back to geology. We are going to start doing a deep dive into the earth and we're starting with maps. So when we talk about maps, we are going to discuss mostly topographic maps and then geologic maps. So this first mini lecture is going to go through topographic maps specifically. How can lines show the shape of the land? So to ponder how this is going to go, one thing to think about as you are listening is if you were hiking and want to know how to avoid steep slopes and where to avoid those steep slopes, what information might you need from a map? And hopefully at the end of this mini lecture, you'll be able to answer that question. All right, so there are basic types of maps. World maps are maps that you've probably used sometime in your educational journey, and they depict anything. So world maps are just a base of the world, and we can put anything on them that we like, whether that's weather, geology, plate tectonics, locations of volcanoes, locations of earthquakes, all of those sorts of things. Then we have road maps. Road maps show locations of roads, highways, major landmarks. You have those on your phone as Google Maps or Apple Maps, and a lot of us use those every day now because they're so convenient on our phone. But topographic maps are a little bit different. That's what this one is down here in the bottom left-hand corner. It might look a little bit like spaghetti to you, but to a geologist, it's showing, oh, look at that hill. It might have a stream valley there. Looks like there's this really nice stream flowing through in a couple of different areas of this map. And the elevation is steep on one side and gradual on another. And so that's what maps are going to help us with. They're going to show us elevations of the landscape, and they're also going to show us some water features. And then some maps will also project some of what a road map might have on it. So when we look at, for example, a topographic map of Fresno, there is some road components to it as well, because there's not going to be very many lines because it's really flat in Fresno. Then we look at geologic maps and they show the geology. And so that's that middle one here with all the colors. And so in geology, we use geologic maps to depict where all of the rocks are, what type of rocks are in this area. And sometimes they are projected on top of topographic maps and you see them found together, but not always. And then we have raised relief maps, which are a special type of map that's in the top left-hand corner here, that are a 3D representation of the landscape. So it's like a little mini landscape that you can run your hands over and you can kind of feel all the bumps and impurities in the landscape. So topographic maps are going to be the focus of this portion of your content this week. They are two-dimensional models of a 3D world. So we take the 3D landscape and we put it on a piece of paper, which is wild to think about, and it involves a lot of work, but it gives us some really good information that we can literally carry around with us. They are sometimes referred to as contour maps, and they are referred to as contour maps sometimes because we call the lines, all those spaghettis that you see on the map, those are called contour lines. Okay, and they show elevation above sea level. So in the United States, we have the United States Geological Survey, or the USGS, that puts out a lot of quadrangles in all of the United States, including Alaska and Hawaii and some of the other US territories. And these are all standardized. A lot of them were produced between 1947 and 1992, and they were on the ground, boots on the ground, mapping things by hand. In the 80s, a lot of them were revised with satellite photos and aerial images so that we can map some of the areas that are harder to get by foot. And we have this really good inventory. And so in the next lecture that you'll look at, you will also get to see some of these components, and I'll point out some things because these are standardized maps that we use. In the making of a map, we have on the top here a cross-section of a hill. Well, it's a set of hills with a saddle between them. And it shows you where all of these lines come from and how they project down. So if you think of like filling up a bathtub, so your bathtub's empty at first, you fill it up a little bit, you mark the line of the water, okay? Then you fill it up a little bit more, you mark the line of where the water is then. Fill it up a little bit more, mark another line, fill it up a little more, mark a line. Now then if you take the edge of the bathtub and compressed it down into a piece of paper, that's a topographic map. Okay, so that's essentially how this is done. And each of the contour lines are areas that connect equal elevation. So if you think you're standing on a contour line and you're looking at your map, and maybe you have a GPS unit with you that's also telling you elevation, and it says that it's 1,215 feet, but you're like, I'm on the 1,200 foot contour line. It's not exact. It is an average of the landscape. Okay, so it's not a specific point. We'll talk about what specific points are called in a bit. Okay, all of your contour lines will eventually form a closed loop. That might not be on the map you're looking at though. So on the right here, it shows the beautiful closed loop, isolated hill. However, on the left, that quadrangle, not all those loops are closing. Some of them do, but not all of them do. And the ones that don't, they go off the map and maybe they close on another map. And we'll talk about how to find the next map in a bit. But for now, they will eventually close somewhere. Okay, it just might not be represented on the map that you are looking at. All right, so to get yourself kind of oriented between 2D and 3D, pause the video and take a second to try to match all of these. I will provide the answers to you in a discussion post, but for now, don't worry about the answers. Just do your best to try to match them by pausing the video, and then I'm going to move on. All right, so contour intervals. Between contour lines, there's something called the contour interval, and it's just the difference in the value in elevation between the two lines. Okay, so here there's a contour interval of 10 feet, and the way that we can surmise that without having every line labeled is that we have 700 and 750, and there are 4 lines between. So if you equally divide the difference between 750 and 700 by the 5 segments between the 4 lines, each line would be 10 feet. So it would be 700, 710, 720, 730, 740, 750, so on and so forth. And so each map will have its own contour interval. Some of them will tell you what the contour interval is, and others you might have to figure that out on your own. All right, so on some of the larger maps, like the quadrangles from the USGS, they are going to only label every 5th line, which we call index contour lines. And so here you see that the 10,600 line is labeled and the 10,800 line is labeled, but the other lines in between there are not. So it's usually a little bit darker, and we call it an index contour line, and it's actually labeled for us. All right, when contour lines are close together or far apart, it changes the landscape. So if the contour lines are really close together and clustered, that means that over a short horizontal distance, you are changing vertical distance or elevation really quickly. You're either going up or you're going down, and that's going to give you a really steep slope. If the contour lines are really far apart, that means that over that same horizontal distance, you are losing or gaining elevation, not a lot, not very quickly. And so you're going to end up with a really gradual slope. Okay, so closely spaced contour lines is a steep slope, and far apart contour lines or widely spaced contour lines is a gradual slope. So on a map, that would look something like this. This is El Capitan. It is oversteepened. There is a lot of issues with trying to get all of the contour lines up that cliff on a map. As you can see on the left there, that topographic map, all the lines look like they're trying to come together as one large line. And that's because the elevation is changing so rapidly, there's not enough horizontal distance on the map to represent that. Same thing with Half Dome, or the entire Yosemite Valley, which is, there's most of it here represented on the right-hand side. So those red, thick looking lines that are a bunch of spaghetti noodles really close together, that's the cliffs of Yosemite Valley, and there in the center is the actual bottom of the valley. In a gradual slope, it would look something more like this. On the left-hand side here, on the left-hand or the west side of that map, you can see that the contour lines are not very close together. So this would indicate something like a really gradual slope, like this meadow that's pictured here on the right. All right, so a couple of rules with trying to determine elevations and the directions of stream flow. So when you're working with streams, really the first thing you want to look at is which direction is elevation changing. So streams, water flows downhill. And so we want to look at which direction our water is flowing by using the elevations. So use that first. And then the second step is to look at the rule of V's. So contour lines, as water impacts the landscape, the contour lines will bend upstream or upward towards where the stream originates, or the headwaters of the stream. And so from that, you can tell which direction the stream is flowing. So it'll flow out of the top of a V, but the V points upstream. So it's opposite the direction the V is pointing. Okay, so that's a good tip to help you if you can't find the elevations or it's really hard to see. When you're looking at hill elevations and it's not labeled as this hill has this elevation, you want to use this rule. So this map here has an elevation starting at 50, then it goes up to 60, 70, 80, and then 90 is not represented. So it's not an elevation of 90 because it's not on the map. So we can surmise that the maximum possible elevation of this hill would be 90 minus 1, which would be 89. Okay. Now, opposite that would be depressions. Depressions are low points on a map. They could be a sinkhole, a crater, a saddle, an area where water has eroded. There's lots of reasons why we get depressions, but they are noted by a lot of the times hash year marks. So there's a line and then those hash years. If it's a saddle, it's just going to be kind of this big open space between two hills that you might see. Okay, but this one's going to be the opposite of how we determine the elevation of the top of the hill. The elevation of the depression would be the next contour line that's not represented plus 1. So I actually have it wrong here. It should say 51. So the next contour line here would be 50, but it's not represented on the map. So that means that it would be 50 plus 1, so it would be 51. Okay. All right, rules of depressions. So to tell whether a depression is on the top of a hill or the side of a hill depends on what the contours are doing. If the contours are making concentric circles and you have repeating contour elevations, so this one on the left here has 300 and then 300, and then it goes to something else, which actually is going down, so it's going downhill. That indicates that it's at the top of a hill. If there is only one repeat on one side and no repeat on the other side of the depression, then that means that it's on the side of the hill. Okay. So some final thoughts I want you to jot down in your notes somewhere. Write down how you can tell the difference between a steep slope and a gentle slope on a topographic map, and I will see you guys in the next lecture. Bye.